Welcome to The Topic, where we highlight Houston Community College, our students, our programs, and our reach into the community. I'm Todd Duplantis. HCC provides opportunities for people to learn at many different stages of their lives and with many different goals. Dana Sturdevant, the program director for community education, joins us to talk about lifelong learning. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Now, tell me first off what the community in education program involves. What does it entail? If someone is watching right now and they've never heard of it, kind of give us your little pitch.
Sure. So the community education program at HCC is a program developed to provide personal enrichment opportunities to the community so that everyone, not just our typical college student, can engage in lifelong learning. Our community learning programs consist of enrichment courses around health and fitness, dance, personal enrichment, personal finance, digital interest, things like that. They're all short workshops, some of them just one hour workshop, some continually throughout a couple of weeks. And then some of our dance classes and yoga even last an entire semester. One more thing I want to point out real quick is that these classes are open to all of our community, including anywhere from our youth dance classes to the average age adult who's looking for a little enrichment, all the way to senior adults, 50 plus, that are looking for seminars on Medicare and things like that.
So these aren't courses that you necessarily have to have a college degree to take, or courses that you need to have prerequisites before you get into the course.
Exactly. Nothing required, just your time.
What is your most popular course?
Well, right now, actually, during this interesting time, it's yoga. Oh, I'm sure a lot of people are looking for some outlet from home.
Well, we're going to hear a little bit more about yoga in a little while, as exercising online seems to be the thing these days, because a lot of gyms, well, of course, they just reopened, but they've been closed for a while. Would this be a type of program, say you've got parents who are elderly, but you want to get them inclined to learn how to work online and get established, or maybe learn about Medicare? Would this be a good way of getting them involved in learning more about those programs?
Absolutely. We actually have an entire senior series around two of those things. One, digital living, which offers some short 1 to 2 hour workshops around basic computer skills, how to use my smartphone, how to do things like we're doing, talk to their family and friends on Zoom. And then some Medicare fraud. And we even recently had a workshop around COVID frauds targeting seniors.
Well, that was going to be my next question, because I know we've done a lot of advertisements for you guys in our social media, and you've had some workshops recently involving these fraud cases, which it seems like target the senior community.
Yes, we have. We have had exactly that, the COVID one, as well as coming up is Medicare fraud. We've also had some really interesting things around working and selling on Amazon. And like I said, how to use your smartphone and staying connected. We call it staying connected while you're staying at home. So things that we all need to know how to do from home nowadays.
Well, I mean, realistically, we have all got an iPhone. I certainly do. All of us have smartphones or whatever device you have, but you only really know how to operate maybe 10 to 15% of what that phone's capable of. This would be a great way of learning more about how to operate your smartphones.
Absolutely. And we welcome all. We are looking, we're trying to get it out to everyone to make them aware and join us.
And these courses aren't necessarily a long investment. You're not unless you want, you're not going to spend a whole semester having to take tests and learning. This is something where you can learn, and just to enrich you to leave the course with a better understanding. I imagine it's not a pass-fail situation.
Exactly. No pass-fail. It's just simply come join us, brush up your skills, learn something new, and go away that much more educated.
I know before all this happened, you guys would have workshops and you'd hold them maybe on weekends or in certain areas or maybe on campuses, but everything's been kind of thrown for a loop since about spring break time, when we all went away for spring break and never came back. And we're kind of doing everything virtually online now. How did you guys adapt to that? And were you able to transition everything online?
It was interesting for us, just like everyone else. We first looked at what was currently on the schedule at that time to see what could transition online easily. Unfortunately, there were some things that just couldn't, so those courses were put on hold. However, we started looking at what could, and one of the first things we looked to was this yoga, knowing that it might be something people really need right now. And luckily, my instructor was willing to give online yoga a try, and really help me pilot the community learning program online. With that, we were able to just kind of work out some tweaks on how to get the community enrolled and access. That was one of the big things. Is these people I'm talking about is not necessarily those who are used to dealing with Canvas and used to our online platform as an HCC student. So ease of use was top priority. Once we got figured everything out really through the yoga and got it working smoothly, at that point we started reaching out to other areas of HCC for more learning opportunities. And that's when one of the new ones is Arts and Consumer Sciences that are going to be offering some workshops around culinary and fashion and things like that. So we've really been able to pull things out online that we probably never would have had this not happened.
And now you're functioning mostly everything you can online. What are some of the other courses that you mentioned a few that you can touch on that really translated well to online? I imagine these workshops where you're telling people about Medicare fraud or the COVID scams that are going on.
Right.
Those seems like they would translate into a online environment very easily.
Absolutely. Those were very easily transferred. The hardest part was getting the presenter, the subject matter expert, to be willing to go online.
Wow.
The other ones that were fairly easily transferable were the Digital Living series, also for the seniors, that we were able to really create an online atmosphere, going through what all they're would have been learning in class, and then allowing the students to ask questions on an online platform. Those have really transitioned well also. You
also mentioned briefly, Zoom classes, teaching people how to use Zoom. In our morning show, Up to the Minute, we've had experts on talking about the best platforms and Zoom or WebEx or whatever people are using. You've had a class like that. What was its popularity?
We did. It was well, for a first class, it was pretty well received. I'd say we had a handful, probably about 10 people online with us, and we taught them. One of the parts of it was just showing them the different platforms, letting them know if my son has a different type of phone than me, what would we use? Would we use FaceTime? Could we use Zoom? Could we, I don't even remember all of them, but all the different opportunities, and just giving people a little bit of an idea of what they can do with it, how to make sure they can see each other, and what functionality they need.
We're talking with Dana Sturdivant, the Program Director of Community Education for HCC. We've been talking about learning throughout your lifetime. HCC has a number of programs available online, and one of the most popular ones, we mentioned it earlier, we're going to talk about it coming up right after this break. We'll see you more with the topic right after this. Welcome back to the topic on HCC TV. If you're watching us on HCC TV, make sure to find us on our YouTube channel for Houston Community College District. You can watch this show and all of our other shows on there, as well as all other social media platforms, including Facebook and Twitter. You also can download all audio episodes of our podcasts at hccs.edu/podcast. We're talking community education at HCC. What does that entail? Well, a lot of our courses, as you know, have gone online. What's one of the most popular ones for community education? Well, Dana Sturdevant, Program Director for Community Education, is joined with me also by Beverly Hopson, a yoga instructor in the program. Yoga, #1 subject for community education, right?
Yay!
So would you have ever thought that it would be #1, Beverly? I mean, it seems to translate very well. I know a lot of the gyms are doing all their courses online to keep people engaged during the shutdown. Did you think yoga would be so popular?
It always surprises me how many people are interested in doing yoga. I guess it shouldn't surprise me because there's just a lot of demand for it out there. So I was real pleased with the amount of people that wanted to join and give it a try. And even though it was a little experimental at the first, but we got into a really good routine, and I think it worked out well.
So you're using a platform, I imagine. Can you see the participants that you're instructing, or is it just a platform where you're seeing yourself on camera? How is it working?
I can see all of my students, and my husband has hooked me up to a big screen TV so that I can see them better because I am a distance away from my computer. The more people we have in the class, the smaller my squares get on the TV. So I do have difficulty seeing when they're struggling or having some difficulties. So, and it's also, they're muted, so it's a one-way conversation. They don't have an opportunity to stop me and ask if there's if they need clarification or anything like that. So I've had to address some issues like that after class via email or via text. It's real important to be able to talk to them.
So that's got to be something that's very difficult to deal with, because I know when I've taken classes at a gym, it's very important to have that one-on-one with the instructor. And when I'm doing something like a spin class, the instructor will say, hey, you know, you're sit up or something, you know, don't bend your elbows. And it's got to be, as an instructor, a big barrier for you that you're having to overcome to not be able to have that interaction.
Yes, it was very challenging at first because I consider yoga to be very individualized. You know, the postures have a range of motion from beginner to advanced. And I want each person to feel like they're getting an individual instruction. And when we can't communicate that way, it was difficult. I had to be very clear, very precise in my instruction, and I had to keep telling people only go to their ability level. And that way I could take it from beginners all the way to a more advanced in the postures.
And how often do you teach the class? Is it a weekly class or bi-weekly? How often is it?
Normally I teach Tuesdays and Thursdays. I usually teach twice a week. Once we started online, the demand was so much, we decided to offer a Monday, Wednesday, and a Tuesday, Thursday, so I could get the class size a little smaller.
So you doubled your workload with classes. And Dana, did you imagine it would be this popular with yoga?
I did not, but I was, of course, thrilled that it was.
And with other classes that have, I mean, I guess when you go into something like this, well, I think it was one of our presidents told me during an interview, this whole COVID crisis, as we're finding our way through this, it's like building an airplane while you're flying it. And you're kind of learning as we go. And I guess something like this with yoga, learning the popularity, you really didn't know until we were placed in a virtual world.
Yes, that's correct. Most yoga classes are very popular, so it would only assume that they would be popular online as well, but we were surprised at the numbers.
The classes that you have, are they different stages? Are they for different levels of one being harder, one being for amateurs, the other being for pros or intermediate? How does that work?
They were all beginner level classes, and the postures have a range of motion, but I did separate them out to where the Monday, Wednesday class was a little bit slower paced. Those are some people that had never tried yoga before for whatever reason. So a lot of people think it's too difficult for them, and this gave them them the opportunity to try it in the privacy of their own home. So I kind of had a little questionnaire that they filled out. If they didn't know what downward dog is, I needed them in a really basic class so that I can make sure that I explained the postures and make sure they had the correct form for their postures. And then I had the other class was some of my regulars that have been with me for a while. They like to think they're advanced, but they're advanced beginners.
Well, I'm going to ask you this. I'm going to ask you from two different viewpoints. What advice would you give to instructors who are looking to start instructing online or are having to do that? What advice would you have for them? And then I'm going to go from the student point of view.
So my advice for instructors would be to be sure and set up a trial run, because there's technical issues that you have to address. We had to figure out where the best place for my mat and for my computer and how far away I needed to be from my computer for them to see my full body sitting and standing. So I have tape in my living room so I know where to place everything every morning. So having a dry run to work through any issues like that. I also had to speak a lot louder than I normally do because I am so far away from the computer. We had some sound quality issues that we had to address. So, and also setting up some way to communicate with your students, either via email or via texting, just to touch base with them to make sure that they didn't have any questions or concerns, or to make sure they didn't have any mobility issues that needed to be addressed.
And what advice would you give students out there, someone who's thinking, you know, I might want to try yoga online? What would you tell them?
Oh, go for it. Give it a try. I told a lot of them, what do you have to lose? You're in your home. But I also would suggest for them to be sure to communicate with their instructor and don't be shy about saying, hey, I can't do this, or hey, I've got some knee pain. And that way this instructor can address that issue to the whole class, because more than likely, you're not the only person with that problem. So it really can address several issues with just one question.
Dana, I'm going to ask you, now that we're hopefully going to be back in the building sooner rather than later, we're keeping our fingers crossed on that one. But when we do get back in the buildings, have you learned something with this experience? Will we be offering yoga online maybe for the time being? Will these classes be offered online, being that they're so popular online?
Yes, I think for the time being, yes, they will definitely be offered online, just with the uncertainty of what's going to happen. Of course, our goal is to get back into our campuses because our facilities are great. So, you know, when we do have the all go ahead, hopefully we'll have even more participants who gave it a shot online and are now comfortable enough to join us in person.
Well, Beverly, we appreciate you being here with us and enlightening us about the yoga experience online at HCC. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Stay tuned to the topic. We're going to be back. And, you know, during this whole shutdown, have you learned a new skill? Did you learn anything new, except for maybe new ways to turn the TV to a brand new channel or all the things to binge watch? Well, we're going to talk about new things people can learn online via HCC. All that and more coming up on the topic.
In these days, we are all doing our share to battle the virus.
We view an attack against any faith or ethnic group as an attack against all of us.
We are all in this together. Many of us are immigrants. The virus affects us all.
We all work together.
We are all Texans.
Welcome back to the topic on HCC TV. I'm Todd Duplantis. We're talking community education at HCC. We're joined by Program Director Dana Sturdivant, and also Suzette Brimmer joins us. She is the Interim Dean, Consumer Arts and Sciences. They're here to talk about a brand new collaboration. Welcome to the show.
Great to be here.
So, Suzette, tell us more about your online class offerings this summer.
Well, we have been working on doing online classes for some of our COE labs, like in fashion and culinary. And with COVID-19, it has pushed us into taking our lab-based classes and putting them online. So since we're having to do that, it just seemed, wow, if we can do this for our students, then we should be able to do this for our community. And I have worked with Dana on other projects because we did a learning community in the Alief area. And culinary was a part of it, but it was actually in person. But with us having to transfer our classes online, Dana reached out and said, hey, why don't we do this for the community? And I said, oh, I think this is a great thing because now we're getting so savvy with teaching our students online, so we should invite the community in as well.
Well, there seems to be a demand for your services now because so many people are doing things at home. You're cooking at home. People are sewing masks at home. They're maybe trying to sew some clothes for the kids while they're at home because you have time. So has that increase in demand kind of sparked interest for you guys to add these courses? Hey, why not?
Oh, absolutely. We have faculty that have been asked by hospitals to design masks, design the skull caps and the type of caps that women wear with long hair, medium length hair, which I didn't even know this all exists. And what inviting our fashion faculty, they have been able to, what I say, couturiate them, bedazzle them and customize them. Of course, we've got all of our universities, contingencies out here, UT, A&M, LSU, even though it's in Louisiana, I think there's a large amount of people live here from LSU, including myself. So I had to put that little plug in. And so, it's been very fascinating. Some of our faculty have been able to secure couture fabrics and are making masks, with those type of things in mind. And that's some of the classes that we're teaching. Stylish mask making is one of our offerings for the summer. One that's a magic craft, so that if you've got something old, let's say you've got a dress that you love, but you can no longer wear it or it's just not in style, well, you could take some of that fabric and make a pillow out of it and then just redo your sofa with things that you own and can cut down prices of actually buying decorative sofas. We're also offering some baking classes, like baking with your kids, learning how to make delectable cookies and how to do pastries that can impress. And what's really neat about it, as I've said before, we've got incredible faculty. And so the chefs, pastry chefs also fit into that category. And so that they are lending their skills to the public and teaching people tricks of the trade. Because, things seem so complicated, but if you know the tricks, you can succeed.
You mentioned something earlier, and I had to look up his brand online, but one of your former graduates is making some stylish masks out there, Alan Gonzalez.
Yes.
And he's got Alan's who I follow on Facebook. We've had him on this show before, back about a year or so ago. But he's making some designs out there. So you're seeing a far reach of HCC products out there, really doing some good.
Yes. And then Chloe Dow, who's an alumni of us, she just turned her whole factory into mass producing. And the real beauty of all of this is that for hospital workers, they are just donating those items. So I'm very, very proud of the people that I work with.
I know you guys had just opened your brand new culinary building, which is incredible. And you had you have a broadcast facility in there. You must be dying to get your folks back in there again.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And this summer, we're going to finish our spring labs in the facility, and hopefully by fall we will be up and going. We'll have a smaller amount of class cap, due to COVID and CDC regulations, but we're hoping maybe by next spring we're back strong.
These classes, though, that you're offering through this program seems like they could certainly pique the interest of people who may want to get into the long-term programs that the COE has to offer.
Well, Todd, that is always a goal of mine, is a way to introduce people to what we do, introduce our community to our chefs, our faculty that are unbelievable, highly talented, and have them whet their appetite, to come. Also, when we're able to get in a building, we had already planned, and I was working with Dana on this, what we call a learning community, where people would actually come to the facilities and take these classes in person. So we're not going to ever get away from our learning community classes. We're just hoping to actually have them on campus. I mean, to see the new culinary building, to also see the fashion labs, work with people, on a regular basis, and just come, all of these areas have such great synergy. So we really want to get our community in our buildings.
Some incredible programs and offerings right now. Dana, for anyone who's interested in all the programs you have, especially now that these are available online, what's the best place to go, and how can they just kind of browse and pick and choose what they might want to take?
The best place, of course, I think you mentioned earlier, is social media. All of HCC's social media, we're really trying to push it out through our digital flyers. On each of those will be a link to register, where you'll find more the entire schedule, more information about the class, times, as well as descriptions. However, if you want a more static place than social media, you can also find us on our website, which is hccs.edu/community-learning. Everything can be found there as well.
Suzette, again, with the COVID crisis, we went away for spring break and we really never returned, and everybody was had to get ready to go online with a matter of weeks. How big of a challenge it was for you guys in your COE and having to get your staff and faculty ready for online learning instruction so quickly?
One word, Herculean. And it's unbelievable, but when you have to do something, it's amazing the amount of grit you have. And when you've got talented faculty who really care for their students, put students first, they just did it. And I mean, it was in a very, very short period of time. Also, when you're having to take classes that are very lab-based and then put them online, that's not everyone's skill set. But what happens with faculty is that they get together. The faculty that are much stronger in online will help the faculty who they tend to do much better face-to-face. So it was a joint effort, you know, by everyone. Plus the college as a community came in to just make this huge, let's everybody grab each other's hand and encircle our students to move forward. And I think that's why the transformation was just so successful to online. And having said all that, once you do all that, you're like, oh no, we're keeping our online presence. You know, we never know what could happen in the future, but we've also had some really great things about having students say, hey, I like it that I can go back and see what we did. I like it that I can email, feel like I have a message center or like the virtual lounge where you could go in and also talk to other students. So you kind of get that simulated feel about being in a classroom because you could see everybody and talk to them. You know, sort of like that Brady Bunch square type thing. So I'm dating myself, but yeah. So that makes students happy. So you know, it's a present that we're going to keep. We're going to develop, but you know, you can never replace that touch, that high tactile type of need that we all have, and especially in the creative areas, because we all get energized and get more creative from each other. So I'm looking forward to getting back to campus, but also looking forward to keeping that online presence and keeping people, you know, I guess both sides of the brain working when you've got the online and also in person.
Suzette Brimmer, the Interim Dean, Consumer Arts and Sciences, thank you for being here. Dana Sturdivant, HCC Program Director, Community Education, and Beverly Hopson, HCC Yoga Instructor. Congratulations on your popularity, and we look forward to, you know, we got to work with you for an HCC TV show in the future as well.
Oh, that would be fabulous.
It's my personal opinion. Thank you all for joining me today, and thank you for joining me on the topic. I'm Todd Duplantis. I'll see you next time.